All right, it's Wednesday, August 5th, 2026. The time is 6:03 p.m. Calling this meeting of the Westport School Committee to order. If everyone could rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, this meeting is being recorded. We'll start with comments and statements from the public. Seeing none, we'll move on to our informational agenda. We'll start with the Superintendent's report. Dr. Roy.
Thank you. As you can imagine, the summer is a pretty busy time, especially for our facilities folks. So a couple of updates there. First of all, I want to acknowledge that this building project has achieved a silver in LEED certification, and LEED stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. So we appreciate the efforts of everyone, and we are working towards closing out our school building project. Also, the athletic fields will be ready for the fall, unlike last year, where we had some issues and the fields were not ready. We are anticipating that the fields will be ready to go, and as August comes pretty quickly. We also, if you have not seen it, please take a look at the mural in our cafeteria, which is a really amazing space, and thank you for everyone who worked to get that together. We also have, for us, our summer is done. I had the admin here, all of us that are in the audience right now as administrators. We've come together for the past 2 days. We'll finish tomorrow to get ready to open up for the school year. We came together on a common vision and our hopes and dreams for what we want to do in service of our students and our families. One of the highlights of our institute was we had a couple of teachers come to speak to the administrators. We had done a book study about the anxious generation. So if anyone out there wants to read a very telling book about this generation of children coming up, the book is called The Anxious Generation. And then we had a first grade teacher and a high school teacher give their perspective on what they're seeing in their classrooms to combat that, and what maybe giving us some ideas on how to move forward. And we're also finalizing our hiring process, so that we have a few more openings, but I think we're overall in decent shape. And the next thing that's going to happen to you in September when we come back, and this is through the work of everybody, is I'll be presenting a strategic plan for you to take a look at and to give us feedback on.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. And I also want to thank the Facilities Department for preparing our buildings ahead of the opening of the school year. I know it takes a lot of work both inside and outside the building, so I want to recognize them and also recognize our staff and administrators. I was able to pop in very briefly to the administrators meeting, and I want to thank their work as they prepare. Thank you, Dr. Roy. Any other questions, comments from the committee? All right. Before we move to the curriculum director report, I do want to acknowledge another member of our staff, Mark Thibodeau, who... Okay. Thank you, John. So I just want to recognize Mark Thibodeau, who served our district for 31 years, retired last month as a custodian, and want to recognize his work for serving our students in the district. That's 31 years is a strong commitment to Westport and the work that our students do, so I want to recognize him and thank him for his years of service to the district. That being said, we'll move to item B on the informational agenda, curriculum director report.
Thank you. Good evening. Brief report tonight. It's been a busy summer. People think that there's not a whole lot going on in terms of curriculum over the summer because the kids aren't here, but there's actually quite a bit. I'm hard at work working on renewals our executive secretaries in each of the buildings, writing and submitting a variety of grants, and hopefully that's taking our time with approving them all. That'd be great. I've been working with Mrs. Miranda on a draft of our professional development plan for the school year, and we will be partnering up with our WFT leadership to finalize that plan. So we're looking forward to that. That plan will include some professional development for our staff in math, literacy, as well as a variety of other topics focused on special education. This summer, through our Innovation Career Pathways, we were able to allow 2 students to engage in a summer internship. This was the first time that we had done that. We knew that we had our new Career Pathways coordinator coming on, but in the meantime, I took on a little bit of supervision of that, but the 2 students were very self-motivated. We had 1 student at physical therapy at Charlton Memorial and 1 student at Agape Dermatology. So, great moving forward in our ICT program. Any questions?
All right, thank you very much. Okay, item C, business manager report.
Hello, everybody. So I'll get started with enrollment. Right now, the registrar right now is in full swing, registering new students coming in, which we do have quite a few. We don't have an updated number. That usually takes about the first week in September before we make an update on what our enrollment numbers will be and what students we have coming in. We have various ages, grades that are coming in, so it's not just a starting grade. So that we'll have a better update for you in a few weeks on that. Transportation payments and registration for transportation is due August 7th, this coming Friday. So families out there, the forms are online. Also the payment for going through city, I've used that word all day long today, I can't even remember it. City Hall, which is linked with the town page, because it helps reduce the fees. So we changed from My School Bucks. We're no longer using My School Bucks for transportation. We moved over to the City Hall systems, which is through the town, which helps reduce the fees that families are paying. So that is set up running transportation changes, new enrollments for transportation, and any of the fees that are due this Friday. Update on the playground, the Macro playground. The playground itself is ready to ship in 2 weeks to the Macron School. I'm waiting on right now is the contractor to get in there and start doing their groundwork to be able to accept the new equipment. I don't foresee the playground being up and running for the beginning of school, but we're lucky enough to have the existing playground still there, so students will be able to use it. They will close off and tape down the existing area so that the kids stay away from that area to be able to, they might be able to use part of the pavement still there, probably mostly all of it, except for maybe a few feet. So that is just a little bit slow in coming, but we hope to see that up and being used before the end of the fall this year with kids on it. So we're looking forward to that. And that's about it.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you very much. Okay, moving to item D, committee liaison reports. We'll start with Caitlin.
We had a building committee meeting tomorrow, so I'm sure there will be an update on that. And then we did just have a policy meeting, in which we have some agenda items to review.
Great.
Other than that, nothing else.
Have there been any meetings since last week?
I haven't had any, besides the 2 that just had 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock. We'll get updates on those later on the agenda.
Very good. I have none either, other than a school building committee meeting tomorrow. And I believe the audit committee should be meeting, I think, next month, if I'm not mistaken, next month in September. All right, we'll move to item E, Alice recap. I believe Mr. Persico is here. Thank you for joining us.
Good to see everybody. Before I just go into this year in review for 25-26, I just want to thank the committee, our school administration, as well as our police department for their continued support in this very important work. So thank you for that. Pleased to announce that the district has been recognized as an ALICE certified organization once again. The criteria for that are yearly comprehensive updates to our emergency operations manual. The last update was just completed on the 29th of this month. We had a proud number of 92% online training recertification. Their qualifications are 75%. We do shoot for 100, but we're well above the bar. As well as our trauma-informed drills that take place at all of our schools. This year, as in the past, we continue to offer age and developmental ALICE overviews and Q&A assemblies with Officer Davis, Officer Pacheco, as well as myself as the district's trainer, delivered to all buildings this year on September 9th and September 10th. We held our second ALICE for Parents Night with SRO Davis and Pacheco on November 5th of 25. We're doing that again this year, which is well received by the community. We had 4 very successful drills conducted throughout the course of the school year at all buildings. Those were different scenarios each time. And what I think I'm most proud of is that when we debrief, we've had a discovery of opportunities for improvement based on drills. That includes conversations about signage, how we communicate potential threats in our buildings, as well as our speaker systems at this building have been updated, so that our guidance suite now gets notifications through both systems, which is great. And the PA panic button has been maintained. Those are operational for each of the drills, which has been really productive. So again, thank you everyone for this important work, and does anyone have any questions?
I just have to thank you. Obviously super important, especially nowadays. And it's good to see that this is ongoing and continues to be focused. Certainly throughout all of our buildings, and it's obviously the most important thing that any of us can worry about. So great job.
Thank you. We're very proud of the work.
I just to add to that, I wanted to also thank you. I think that your work on this is very important. This is as Jay said, the most important thing that we do is ensure the safety of our students in our buildings. So thank you for this, and also want to highlight the partnership with the police department in town. They are close partners with us, and I want to recognize their efforts as well. And thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Just want to echo the thank you, but also I do know that you've been doing this for several years now. I really appreciate the follow through and continuing to make improvements every year.
Thank you. This is my 6th year in the district here, and I think my 8th or 9th year overall as an ALICE certified. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, item F, MASC-MASS Joint Conference, Early Bird Pricing. So every year, as you may know, the Massachusetts Association of School Committees holds a joint conference with the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents. That typically occurs in November. It's usually on the Cape. They've had it at the same location for a number of years, but this year they moved the location to Danvers, November 4th through the 6th. So if members are interested in attending that, I've attended a number of times, and I always learn something new. You learn from your colleagues from across the state about their practices, how they run things. You learn from panelists and hear how different districts approach a wide range of issues, from special education to budgeting to collective bargaining. There's a lot of different panels that members can participate in, and you can kind of do it as you choose. So there's not a set schedule. You can kind of choose what you attend, which panels you go to. So I always find it very helpful, but that is ongoing. So if members are interested in attending that, there is a deadline for the registration, and we can talk to Lori if you're interested in attending. All right, item G, the South Coast Educational Collaborative Financial Report. I don't believe this requires an action, but we do have to acknowledge it. So I'll just briefly note that. So the Educational Collaboratives, DESE, oversees the governance and the compliance of educational collaboratives throughout the state. Included as part of this oversight is a financial review that happens every 6 years. The South Coast Collaborative members are in receipt of the report. The collaborative met all of the indicators of success. There's a partial rating on 2 of them, but other than that, it seems to be in order. I think, Fran, you're on the board. as far as a member district. Do you have any comments on it?
No, we meet monthly. This has certainly been my first year, so it's been an education for me, but it's an important resource. And we appreciate the collaboration with the Southwest Education Collaborative.
Thank you. Any questions, comments from the committee? Okay. Item H, discussion of superintendent evaluation. So the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education has a end-of-cycle summative evaluation report for superintendents that committees use to evaluate their superintendents. Lori had circulated a draft of the evaluation to members. I figured this would be an opportunity for the committee to opine on this and to offer if there are any recommended changes, edits, if the committee is good with this evaluation, but I just wanted to highlight a few things. So the way that the evaluation works, there are a number of standards that DESE identifies, and those are in a number of categories. There's instructional leadership, management and operations, family and community engagement, and professional culture. So the committee evaluates, and committees around the state evaluate superintendents based on those criteria, and within those criteria are certain focus indicators that the committee, for lack of a better term, grades superintendents on and comments on it in a narrative format as well. So there's a narrative aspect and a sort of a grading aspect to the evaluation. So just on the content of the report, I'll note a few things. That Dr. Roy, this being her first year, the entry plan was kind of the basis for a lot of the points of evidence that were provided to the committee. And in my opinion, the superintendent has met the goals that she set as part of that. And I think is doing a fantastic job of leading our district and has a really comprehensive and thoughtful approach to the way that she's both entered the job and joined the district. And I want to commend her efforts on that. She's really made a strong effort to, in a number of areas, but I'll note a few. Her community engagement has been very strong. I know she made a concerted effort when she started to really make sure that she got stakeholder input on a number of important aspects of the operations of the district. So as part of that, she led 11 community partner meetings, 13 school visits and school observations. This was as of this past January, so only a few months into her tenure. 8 interviews with elected officials and led 13 listening sessions with families, PTO, staff, and students. And I think that this is really a central component of Dr. Roy's approach as superintendent and is very important. She got right to work, sunk her teeth into the budget process, and I think really has done a good job of communicating the needs of the district to the committee, which is important for us to hear that. And I think has really fostered a good environment in the district. So I want to commend the superintendent and thank you for all your work in this last year. And looking forward to continuing to work with you. Are there any comments or questions from the committee on the evaluation? Any recommended edits, changes to the draft?
I'll just say that I really do like the draft, and I think it's a very accurate reflection of certainly how I feel as well. And certainly want to commend Dr. Roy again on her entry and also her follow-through. Communication certainly has been a real big plus, and not just me personally or the school committee, but all of the outside organizations and groups that are also tied to not only our district but also the community as a whole. So great job, and I do like the draft evaluation.
Yes, Mr. Chair, certainly this is well done on the draft here. I would not recommend any changes. I would certainly like to highlight the efforts that Dr. Roy has undertaken since she arrived. Also, as was noted, a lot of this comes from the entry plan. The entry plan was extremely detailed and had a lot of goals, a lot of items for you to check off, and so far so good. So thank you again. It's been a pleasure. Looking forward to the next couple of years at least.
I'll just echo what the committee has already said. I joined the school committee to get involved and to show my commitment to the community, my kids that are in this school district, and I think that you have done the same thing and done that well. The commitment to the community, the commitment to the staff, the commitment to the students. And I think it's been a great first year and, far different from previous years as a parent in the district and now on the committee. We really appreciate the hard work that you've put into it and the care that you've put into it. So,
Thank you very much. I do appreciate the support. It was a great first year. I learned a lot, and I appreciate this community more than I realized. And so I'm looking forward to the work ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Roy. On that note, before we move forward, just want to confirm, are there any recommended changes as to the draft before we move forward? No?
Right, if it would be appropriate now, we would move approval of the certificate evaluation.
Second.
All right, so we'll take maybe the action agenda out of order to act on this item. There's a motion and a second to approve the evaluation. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? That's unanimous. Okay. Thank you. Moving to item I, the Westport Community Schools bill warrant dated August 7, 2026, $363,459.35, and July 24, 2026, $228,145.76. I reviewed both of those bill warrants. Everything seemed to be in order. Are there any comments, questions from the committee? Hearing none, we don't need to act on that. Members are in receipt of the bill warrants. Moving to item J of the informational agenda, first read of the following policies. KF, community use of building facilities, we will pass over that. ECAB, access to buildings and grounds. EEA, bus driver examination and training. IN, artificial intelligence, we are skipping over for this evening. IFBB, school choice. KBG, parent advisory councils. IKAA, timeout, seclusion, and restraint of students. ILCD, administration of medication to students. ILCDC, self-administration and self-carry medications. Just a couple of notes, the policy subcommittee, which is, the members are Jane Caitlin, met prior to this meeting. And so in addition to passing over items K, F, and IN, there was also a small change recommended to IFBB, just adding a portion to one of the sentences. And ILCD, Ms. Marina, I think, is getting clarification on one of the items there. But other than that, do the members of the subcommittee have any comments?
No, I say no when I talk. No, it was a pretty smooth meeting. A couple of things that we did want to kind of go over again ourselves, but in terms of the first read of it, we're definitely ready for that and have some updates to make before our second read.
Thank you. And I will note, just because the committee's received some questions on this from parents on the school choice issue. The amended school choice policy is a recommendation from the Massachusetts Association of School Committees and includes a new section relating to preference for siblings of currently enrolled students as part of that process. So that's the recommended change there. We have received a number of questions on the school choice process, so I just wanted to clarify that is the change to that item, and all of these are hyperlinked on our agenda on the school website. And all of the other changes that were mentioned were also recommendations from the Association of School Committees. All right, moving to the action agenda, we completed action item A. Moving to item B, review and act on the staff handbook. Ms. McDaniel.
Good evening. Just a few changes in the handbook. Most of them were clerical. We updated some names and some titles. There were policies that Mass eliminated, and then if the school committee subsequently eliminated them, we removed the language from the handbook referring to those policies. One of them was the dress code policy that was removed. So the language in the handbook regarding the dress code was updated.
Thank you. Are there any questions? I know members received a copy of this, and I reviewed it, and those policies that were changed were all to reflect changes to the district policy and MASC recommendations. So, questions? No? All right, thank you. Okay, item C, review and act on the, we do actually, yes, thank you. What's the pleasure of the committee?
I'll make a motion to approve the staff handbook for FY 26-27.
Second.
Thank you. And is that school year 26, 27? Is that fiscal?
Yeah, did I say that?
No, I think it says on the agenda. Is that school year?
26,
Yeah.
27.
School year 26-27, sorry.
Who was it?
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. That's unanimous. All right. Moving to item C, review and act on 26-27 district student and family handbook. I know our principals are here tonight. Thank you for joining us. I know, I'll just note a few items. I know we were combining the handbooks this year. I know previously we had sort of a pile of separate handbooks, and now we're condensing them into one to streamline it. And I know I had two questions on at least on the middle high school one, if Laura, if you would be able to address those. Or if you had any changes that you wanted to highlight.
No changes that needed to be highlighted. One of the pieces that was still left, literally highlighted, was on breathalyzers, that I wanted to get the opinion of the committee on.
Okay. I have one question on the wind block.
Yes.
So what is I saw it in there.
Yep. So WIN stands for what I need.
Okay.
It is going to be a half-hour block of time that students will have in their schedule every day after third period. And ultimately what's going to happen is on day one of the cycle, students are going to go to their homeroom and they're going to make a selection of where they want to go for the next 5 days for WIN. And hopefully they're going to make choices that are going to best serve them. So for example, if they know that they missed a math test, they will schedule one of those WIN blocks with their math teacher so they can make up that test that they missed. Or if they're failing ELA, they'll schedule time with the ELA teacher to meet with them to get remediation. For some students, their selection might be shooting hoops in the gym because that's what they need on that particular day. Or walk the track, go to the media center. Of course, teachers are going to have the ability to override student selections. So let's say a kiddo is failing social studies, but they think they want to go shoot hoops. Well, you've all wrong. So you're going to go to social studies and your teacher's going to place you into that class.
That's my favorite part. I like that.
Yeah, but the teachers can decide. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions on that? Okay. On the breathalyzer piece, I was curious if our school resource officers or the police department had any input on that.
Yeah, so at this point, I think I've been to 45 homecomings, proms, and black and white dances. I have breathalyzed in and out on every single one of those events, and we have never had a student fail a breathalyzer. The reason I'm bringing it up is really twofold. Does the committee continue to think that it's necessary? And two, we are going to have to plan ahead because we're still using the yellow breathalyzers that have been here since the Chet Millette days. And while they're still functional, they're aging. Miss Morris did purchase some new ones, but the new technology is very small. It's hard for students to use. It takes a long time to take a reading, so it would take a really long time to get everybody in and out. So I just wanted to discuss if we think that it's a necessary, requirement to get into these dances. And SRO Davis, to answer to your point,
Yeah.
he is there at all the dances. And even if it's not him, we hire security and detail.
Okay.
Personally myself, who hasn't been to as many as this year, but did do this a bunch of times. I would support not continuing the practice of breathalyzing in and out of these homecomings and proms and things, but I would also want to reinforce the fact that we do have officers of the law present, and that the repercussions for any kind of behavior, any kind of inappropriate behavior in terms of the use of drugs or alcohol are enforced school administration, because it is something that is off school grounds, and they are a member of the public just like anyone else, and should and will be treated that way. So I just like that reinforcement to the students ahead of time, and, maybe ahead of homecoming, ahead of prom, which I know we, have done various, student assemblies or, whatever it may be, to kind of review that. I think it's smart on your part as a district, and also, it's kind of like another warning, to our kids, just because, these are going away, doesn't mean that, it's kind of, I don't want to say, I probably shouldn't say. No, I just think that, it would be smart on our part, beneficial, to kind of go over the ground rules again ahead of, our upcoming, homecoming and prom, going forward.
If I can, Mr. Chair, I am wary of eliminating it completely. I understand the real logistical challenges that this presents. I would personally probably recommend that there would be some language stating that students attending would be subject to breathalyzer tests pretty much randomly or as needed. I would want it well publicized that a breathalyzer still may be in play, even if it isn't on the in and outs, creating lines and whatnot. So I think it's very important not to eliminate it completely, but I think I would support language that leaves the possibility in there without forming lines and out.
I think I err on the side of Chris, like keeping language in there. Is there other language in there regarding attending school functions and impairment and that sort of thing separate from the breathalyzer?
So in all of our permission slips for any sort of dance, we say that students are held to the student handbook and the code of conduct. And in the code of conduct, we have language related to use of alcohol, tobacco, and marijuana, which is where the greater issue lies.
Yes. So I think to Jay's point, adding language in regarding, the full extent of the law and all that, but then also to Chris's point, saying that they're, here it's mandatory, but that, students are still subject to spot checks or however we want to add the
I just
language.
having no breathalyzers on hand and obviously
Opens up a whole can of worms.
The other thing is, if there haven't been any identified issues in the past, maybe it was because there was
There's a
mandated
consequence, like a
breathalyzer, right? There
no
was
stated consequence, yes, I agree.
To Jay's point, the school district is not law enforcement officers, right? But Chris, to your point, I think there's a way we can accomplish that. Law enforcement officers that are present are trained in recognizing signs of impairment, and if that does arise, then perhaps they would be subject to breathalyzer if the law enforcement officer identified that a student may be impaired. So I would also support keeping it in that, at least to that extent, that students attending will be subject to breathalyzer.
To kind of go back, like Commissioner said, if we did purchase, a new one fairly recently, to have that and kind of as a backup or any suspecting, obviously, the administrators have that right. If we kind of create the policy around that, that we have one on hand, and then administrators are, reserve the right to breathalyze. I do like that.
And just to be clear, I think it would be important that it would say subject to random or suspecting, but leaving the possibility anyone, and maybe everyone could ultimately get recognized. But again, the logistics questions are they're real questions. So, but I would not want to see it eliminated. I do have a question to you, Mr. Chair. Given the timing, is it possible to approve the handbook with the exception of changing language here for the next meeting, or are we running out of time?
Because the next meeting's after school starts, right?
Yeah, so how would...
And this is for this couple.
We wouldn't have a dance until November 13th, I believe, is when the first one's
Until the
coming
next
in.
meeting, yeah.
I also think this will help us too, because we currently don't have any language in the handbook as it relates to our middle school students. And so with the change of language, we can make sure we add that. And I can also put language in that we always have a nurse at these events, and so we'll follow the same procedures that we follow if we suspect a student is under the influence at school.
Okay. All right, what is the pleasure of the?
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
So review with the changes, or do we temporary or whatever it is, like?
We have to approve something before the start of the school year. So we could do it in 2 ways. We could either approve the handbook and someone could vocalize an amendment to that section, or we could approve the handbook with the exception of any changes to the breathalyzer testing, maintaining the language for now, and then we can amend the policy prior to prom or homecoming. So we could do it either way, whatever the pleasure of the committee is.
Do we have any other similar issues that would come up from either of the other principals? So that we can kind of do it together? Any gray area, any advice, any questions?
So I think I would move approval of the handbook as it stands now, with the caveat that we want to revisit this on policy level certainly before proms, but before the first dance or things that we're separate symbols or something like that. So let me try to say that.
To revisit the breathalyzer.
Yes. So I would move approval of the handbook with a note that we will revisit the breathalyzer testing section at a further meeting.
A second.
Okay, motion made, seconded. I just want to confirm, because Lori knows some of the timelines. Lori, is that acceptable? Okay.
I think we would be able to review and approve probably in the same meeting, which would be September.
Yeah.
Just get to
Right.
just home,
Right.
which would be the first meeting or something.
Okay, so we can look at amending breathalyzer at the next, okay. All right, so there's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
One comment,
Yeah.
I just want to commend everyone who worked on this. Thank you for consolidating to one single handbook for the district. I think that's a major improvement. Thanks to everyone who made it happen.
And thank you to Lori, too. Lori had a big hand in consolidating this. Thank you.
Yes. That was Mr. Milano.
Yeah. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay, thank you. All right, item D, review and act on use of facilities application. To refer to Mr. Posa short in a moment, but I'll just highlight a couple of things. So this is the rates that are amended here. The numbers were very low before, honestly. It was likely a cost to the district to have outside groups hold events in our buildings, but this is comparable to, I know the 7 other districts were looked at that were similar to Westport, so these rates bring us more on par with what the common practice is in other districts. So, do you have any comments, Michelle or Jay?
No, it's very detailed. I mean, for the academic section, we do want to put outdoor fields and add one in there. As is, I don't have on my home, but I think that Mrs. Muller can send that to everybody who buys. No, I think cleaning this up is going to be, just makes it so much easier for Mrs. Willett who receives them when people come in. I think it's a lot more detailed, so there's no question about what people are paying. Making sure that we have coverage for custodial, cafeteria, light, sound, and technology, because sometimes we do run into that here. We'll have outside groups that come in and they're like, we need somebody to get the lights going, and it's not, because the use of facilities was so outdated and so old that it was just not useful. So this has definitely been helpful for us changing this.
Thank you.
So I do see one thing that I would strongly advocate be changed. It has nothing to do with the rates. It has everything to do with the sign-offs at the very end. I would like to stipulate that the superintendent needs to sign off on every one of these as opposed to just blankets in the office. So I'm not sure if that's something that can be changed on the fly here or if this needs to be revisited. But I do feel very strongly that the superintendent should take a look at use of facilities.
What would central office currently constitute? Like, who would be included in that?
Many times it's the building principals, they're on
Okay.
Jim usually also signs it, but I think many times the principals are involved in it, but it's, we can definitely.
What's your reasoning behind the superintendent specifically?
My reasoning, well, first of all, I don't want to take away the approval of the principal and building leaders, that needs to be on there as well. I do think there have been times in the past where there's been some confusion, and I'm not sure if the superintendent actually did see, what was asked for. This happened a couple of years ago, about a year ago, or something that kind of took us all by surprise, and I want to make, this was actually before your tenure, Dr. Roy. So I just want to make sure that the superintendent is aware of every potential use that comes through, and just to make sure, if nothing else, just to make sure your eyes have seen it, make me feel much more comfortable in the way things have happened under past administrations.
Let's just start through does that complicate this whole process?
I mean, not necessarily. I mean, I think there should be a sign off by the building principals to help them be aware. Then the sign off should be by the school right, yes, for facilities or
Figuring the funding.
And then I can do the final one, which we do that on many other ones like field trips in a sense, and I'm so that last way. It is a way for me to be aware of these things, or that second one, because things move pretty quickly, so.
So Chris, are you recommending a third line that says
I was
superintendent, so it's principal, central office, and then superintendent?
Yeah, so we'll specifically, I specifically say principal, facilities, and then superintendent. That would suffice. That would ease my concerns.
Just I guess a question on the number of, roughly how many submissions do we receive in a year?
Full use facilities.
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah, that's my concern.
I just don't want the superintendent to go in our office and there's 100 papers like this if she has to sign. Okay.
We're also trying to find out how to digitize this as well.
Right,
So,
right.
which Smell has been working on that, we're just waiting to see what we, so that would also be very helpful to put in as people.
So that was the basis of my commenting, like, is that going to disrupt the process and make it take longer if we add another layer to it?
No.
Just,
I know that when we were just in this meeting and went over this, Ms. Wood did say that almost 100% of these now do come to her via email. So I think that eases my mind a little bit in terms of, if it comes to her and she's emailing it to say Ms. Charette because it's a high school thing, and Ms. Charette approves it, and then it gets forwarded to
CC or whatever.
Dr. Roy, then, I think that
I don't want
there's
to.
no printing, I don't think there's a lot of, there's need to be all printing paper and actually signing as long as it's approved.
Exactly. I certainly don't want to bring in any archaic processes or wet signature or anything like that. I would feel comfortable if the superintendent is, going to be aware of everything that comes through here.
I'm in support of that as well. Are there any other questions?
I was just making a comment, because I was on the subcommittee and worked with Jay and, the facilities on this. I appreciate the thought that went into kind of the research and figuring this out. I don't know if you guys probably can see this yet, but you can when the documents are released. But basically, we got rid of the season, flat rates, because we felt like the district deserves potentially, more funds being generated from it, so it's just a straight hourly rate. And, we'll still work with our Westport-based groups and teams and organizations and that kind of thing, but if it's an outside entity that wants to rent it, we're not going to do those season flat rates anymore, because they could rent it for 10 hours for $1,500 and make, what we're trying to do is generate additional funds so we can get batting cages fixed or batting cages outside or stuff like that. So that's the hope with kind of getting rid of it and maybe potentially generating additional revenue for the district, that we can put some funding back into our sports and the needs that are there. Because I know there's a lot of dollars that need to be put into these things, and we don't always have it. So
And also just thank you to, you all have been here for a while today on the
that was
policy
an easy
study.
part. It was presented to us. All we had to do was talk through some of these things.
If I'm hearing nothing further, is there a motion to approve the new use of facilities application with the amendment to add a third signature on the superintendent?
I will make that motion.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve the use of facilities application as amended. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's unanimous, okay. Thank you. Moving to item E, acknowledgement of Westport Education Foundation grant, $5,000 for Westport Education Foundation. I'm not sure if this is the same $5,000. Two, okay, two. And a $5,000, it says on our agenda donation from Senator Michael Rodrigues. This was an earmark that was secured in the recent budget that was passed and was presented by Senator Rodrigues. So we want to thank him for presenting that and supporting our district and the WEF. And the South Coast Community Foundation WMHS CAD lab project. Is there a motion to acknowledge the grants?
Second.
Motion made second to acknowledge the grants. Is there any further discussion?
Just a thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. The grants are acknowledged with thanks from everyone. All right, item F, review and act on school committee meeting minutes for Monday, July 13th, 2026. It's a pleasure of the committee. Is there a second? All right, so Kayla second, okay. All right, all in favor? Aye. It's unanimous, okay. All right, routine matters, correspondences, and notices. I have no discussion of future agenda items. I have two items. One item, sorry. Career Pathways Coordinator update. So whenever the new staff member gets, settled, I think it doesn't have to be September, October, November, whatever it is, but I think it'd be good for the committee to hear, so thank you. Anything else from the committee? All right. Topics the chair cannot reasonably anticipate 48 hours in advance. I have none there either. With that being said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made seconded. All in favor? All right. The meeting is adjourned at 6:51 p.m. Thank you.